Alrighty, welcome to episode 239 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. The NRMA has opened its first useful fast DC charger in WA at the town of Eneabba, situated along the Brand Highway. The two 180 kilowatt dual output ABB fast DC chargers follow the installation of the same configuration at Manjimup, a mere 300 metres from the existing WAEV network charger site. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. I did at the news article say first useful DC charger. What I really meant to say was useful in the sense that it's not a duplicated location. Because what us EV owners at this stage don't really need is for existing sites to be gold plated. We just need as many different sites available as possible. So after it's 2.75 years of Minister Bowen's, after he proudly announced the groundbreaking 117 site national fast DC charger network, Western Australia now has one useful NRMA charger and a duplicate location, and that's it in 2.75 years. So anyway, alrighty, who would like to kick us off on a question or a comment?
Just commenting on that as a Northlander, it is a welcome addition. And look, yeah, you're right. Of the announced charges, there were only two that weren't duplicates in WA. One of them was at Eneabba, and the original other proposal was at Cataby. Mhm. And my understanding is Cataby has suffered the Kalbarri fate, which is that Western Power started work, and then some local Cooker decided that they didn't want an EV charger because cars would be routinely catching fire in their car park, and has delayed that one. So we should by rights have both of the Brand Highway ones built by now, but hopefully they found a solution to that. But from personal experience, it's pretty much a mandatory charger. Particularly this time of year, I have been caught out on two occasions driving north by bushfires closing Indian Ocean Drive, and so I'll be very, very happy that that charter exists now. So for all the hard time we're giving Minister Bowen, thank God it finally got built, because I reckon I will have to use it a few times.
Yeah, yep. And even though it's sort of a bit north, it's actually north of Greenhead. So if you're traveling from Geraldton, you basically, even if you're left fairly full, you'd have to just basically do a top-up charge at Eneabba, but not for that long, really, to make it to Perth. Coming the
Yeah,
other
it's not
way, of
much use
course,
southbound. Yeah, it'll be really, really
yeah.
useful northbound. Yeah.
And then
And then,
northbound, you could just go Brand and then do a substantial charge, which would be quite quick because it's a lower state of charge to get you to
yeah,
Jero.
until Tesla pull their finger out and build the charger they're meant to be building at Greenhead. And then
E-
that northern route will be the way it should be.
Exactly. And for completeness, there was a third useful location, which was a unique location, which was Willair, let's call it turnoff slash the Willair Hotel, which is between Broome and Fitzroy Crossing. And that was useful because it lets you avoid the 80 kilometre return diversion going to Derby. So so there's only three useful locations
Yeah,
in
that's
in
right. There
Western
wasn't that one.
Australia.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
But
having just driven 802 kilometers south to Flying Bluff Knoll, once I made it past Perth, bloody hell, Albany Highway's too easy now. It's the first time I've done Albany Highway since Trojan Up's opened, because I hadn't been south for a while, and it was quite pleasant to just cruise straight through Williams and keep going and go, look, Trojan Up's just down there. So yeah, good job, Tesla. But yeah, build Greenhead, please.
yes, yeah, indeed, and all the others. Um, yeah, and the
Anyway,
thing is,
enough ranting from a Geraldton guy.
oh, and the thing is, Tesla built that world's largest off-grid site between LA and San Francisco
Yeah, that looks
I think
awesome.
it was 160 stalls off the top of my head, and I forget how many tens of megawatts it was. It's quite a few megawatts, and it had about 10 megapacks. If Tesla simply split that up 10 ways, you could run that across the Nullarbor and solve everyone's problem going east-west.
Yes, 39 megawatt hours.
Yes, so 3.9 megawatt hour megapack XXLs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
connected to
absolutely.
11 megawatts of solar.
Oh, 11. Yeah, perfect. So you got 1 megawatt each side or 1.1. Divide, yeah, just have one megapack, 11 megawatts, and, oh, sorry,
It's
1.1
dope.
megawatts at each site, and your job's
Yeah,
done.
just divide that by 10 and build it. It'd be so good.
So literally for the cost of one site split 10 ways, you could unify Perth to the rest of Australia easily. One
Yeah, but
day.
we don't want that because they're all idiots over there. Oh, sorry.
No, there are some wise people from the east. Um,
Yeah, just joshing, just joshing.
Awesome.
all right. Any other questions or comments?
Well, someone's on thin ice there, aren't they? Gee, not all of us originated here.
No, I didn't either. I'm a
Me neither.
Melburnian originally.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got the
Well,
Melbourne
you're
accent.
the
You
other
got the
side of the
Scottish
planet.
accent.
I got the Scottish
Ken?
accent. You can tell.
Yeah, but I bet when you do go to Scotland, Ken, all the Scottish go, geez, what's happened to you? You're a full-on Aussie. Like, stop that
They
ridiculous
all say,
Australian
"Where are
accent.
you from?" And I say, "Edinburgh." And they say, "No, really, where are you from? Your accent's rooted." But anyway, moving on, let's talk about more useful
Yes. All
stuff.
right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, go on then. I saw some comments from people that there'd been some sort of update. Excuse me, that's the cat in the background. Some sort of update with the self-driving.
Oh, yes.
Somebody said it seemed to have been improved in terms of keeping speed limits. I just
No.
saw it posted on X, and Ryan
No.
clicked. So I don't know what you guys lucky guys who have it have found.
Okay. All right. So the real story is, yes, we all got a. So I
So
don't even know if Hardware 3 owners got it, to be perfectly honest, but certainly all of the Hardware 4 owners got a software update. That is true. And what that software update actually provided was a 3D. Oh, I've got a video of it actually. A 3D. You get 3D rendering of buildings when you're in ordinary map mode on the navigation pane, and that's. And I don't know whether the Tron update was already there. We also
So
got a.
Hardware 3 cars got the Tron update in wide release about 2 weeks ago, and Hardware 4 cars just got that bundled in this release now. But exactly the same version of FSD. We haven't had a change yet.
Precisely, and that's the main point. So, and the problem is, wherever FSD drives, and this applies of autopilot as well, but in any case, if we confine it to true FSD, let's call it hardware for actual FSD, or what Tesla describe it as FSD supervised down under, the car has no mapping memory or retains any memory of what it's done in that same piece of road in the past. So every time it drives on any piece of road, no matter how many times you've done that, as it's observing the road, that's the very first time it basically sees it. And as a result, you often get inconsistent results in the way it behaves on the same stretch of road. Now, the problem is humans are really good at pattern recognition, and most of the time those patterns are fallacious because randomness really is not smooth, it's lumpy. And we are great at thinking, oh, we got a new software update. It took that roundabout differently to what it did yesterday, and therefore it must be an update. Trust me, it's not. It's exact, and you can see that in the release notes. It literally, or I think it says it in your when you look up on your software section of your car. It's exactly the same version. It's 13 point something. 6 point something. I forget what the version number is of the FSD supervised down under. So please, anyone who's watching this or wanting to share this, understand that even though we do get software updates, they're not always to do with full self-driving supervised. And in this case, it's certainly not. We have not had a software update since the first day that the early access people got this software. It has not changed in whatever it was, 3 months or however long it's been.
Yep,
The only
13.2.9.
perfect, thanks, Ken. 13.2.9. I think a little bit of possible good news is I think there's a strong inference that our next update, whenever that happens, I think it's logical that it's going to be a version 14 update, because it just doesn't make sense to continue training a defunct software version, given that in the US they've moved on to several dot revisions of version 14, which is vastly superior. So I think the longer it goes that we don't get an update on the FSD, the more certain, if it's not already certain, that the next one's going to be 14, which hopefully means it'll be significantly better. Having said that, you'll notice that people who watch YouTube and X post about version 14.2 in the States, it has some classic clangers whereby the navigation says turn right and the car turns left anyway. So it's none of this stuff's perfect yet, but hopefully we'll go from being 90% there to perhaps 95 or better on the next version. But so far, no one in Australia that's a normal person, including myself, no one has got anything different to what we originally got for the time being.
Yeah, that's probably an interesting data point, that the South Korea rollout and the European drive along rollouts are all 14.1 releases. So
Yeah, but they're a left-hand drive market, so it's kind of easy for them to just port that across with almost no changes. This is the 3D.
I thought South Korea was right-hand drive.
No, Ken.
Just
That's what
Japan.
got me super duper excited when I heard about Cybertruck, and I thought, oh my God, like they've actually cracked a right-hand drive Cybertruck. And no, it's, even though Hyundai in Australia, I mean, even though, I made the same presumption, Ken, until I Googled it, and then I got upset because it meant the Cybertruck wasn't closer for Australia. By the way, this is the 3D representation. Oop, if this screen will share properly. If I can. So basically, you get a 3D, but it has to be in this split view. So if you're on autopilot with extended visualization, you won't see the 3D representation. So that's what you get with the latest software update that's just come out. And even though it's nice, it's, well, whatever. It doesn't improve the driving of the car. But, I mean, at least the car's slightly better than it was when all of us bought them. Alrighty. Oops, sorry, just got to turn this thing off. Any other questions or comments? Oh, so Mike, so yeah, definitely
Thanks.
don't worry too much. It's the FSD Supervise is just as good or bad as it ever was, in spite of people.
Yeah, it's just, I sort of keep an eye on Ryan's Model Y. He's sort of a reasonable guy. And somebody else posted, oh, it did all this stuff which I hadn't seen it doing before. And he went, yeah, I noticed the same. So I thought I'd ask you guys who.
Humans
No,
are
I did.
useless at. I mean, I've been guilty of it myself. Going, oh, and I've actually had that thought. I wonder, because Tesla can do things to certain subsystems of the car that doesn't actually require an actual software update. There are some things they can tweak.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I sort of fell into that human sort of pattern of thinking, I think it's doing a bit less or more of something, whichever way that went, whether it was an improvement or whatever. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if that last update tweaked something, even though it's not mentioned in the release notes and revisions. But like I said, humans get sucked into that all the time.
Yep.
We desperately seek patterns, and because it's a little bit random, just like anyone in the room who has FSD supervised, I think some people will say, "Oh, my car either never does indicates out of a roundabout ever," which I've not experienced, or some will say it almost always does, and I'm kind of in the middle where it often does, but not always, and it can change the same behaviour. It can change behaviour in the same roundabout. So, and it can make silly decisions being in the left lane of a certain road when it should be in the right lane, but it doesn't always do that. But I mean, one thing I've noticed lately, which I don't think I experienced much in the early days, was my car more often will indicate to go, say, into the left lane, but knowing full well there's a car there and there's another car behind it. It's got no chance of doing it, but it puts on the indicator anyway, which makes you look kind of dumb. And the only way you can resolve, and then it will kind of turn it off after a few seconds and you look like an idiot. And then just a few seconds later, it'll then do it again. And it's like, would you please stop it? And I kind of didn't really notice that in the early days. But then maybe as a dumb human, it's because I was too excited about everything else it was doing. I didn't really care about those little things. So,
Exactly.
like I said,
Or
humans
maybe
are,
West Australians will learn how to drive, and when the car puts the indicator on, it'll actually make space for them and let it pull over. But West Australians
yes.
don't do that because they all have this disease that
Well,
means they won't let anyone else merge.
this is true. And in over east, they seem to be more likely, more happy to let you in, sort of. But then actually in Norway, by the way, it's illegal to speculatively put your indicator on. In Norway, apparently you're only allowed to use your indicator if there's a gap that you are going to use. You can't just kind of put it on in hope. But anyway, each to their own. But yeah, humans are useless. We're just, so please, just because Ryan has 250,000 subscribers doesn't mean he knows anything more than anyone else. In fact, sometimes the larger subscriber counts, not talking about Ryan, but others, sometimes suffer from, I don't know what you'd call it, elite syndrome. They think they know everything because everyone asks them what they think. And that's not always the case. But
And if YouTube is your job, then you're rewarded by clicks.
yes,
Not making any suggestions about any particular YouTuber in that statement, but it's the facts, you know.
yes, yep. And me as a YouTuber, I've got 140 people, so I'm not one of them. So, and I only did it just so I can chuck my Round Australia videos on, just somewhere to put them, because X doesn't let you put 3-hour videos. I don't know why.
Has anyone watched the 3-hour one all the way through yet? Have you got any
Oh,
analytics on that?
I haven't bothered looking at the stats. Of course, no one in their sane mind would do that. But maybe every now and then I might get half a carton of beer and hop in the theatre room and relive the memories. Anyway,
Harold, if I may continue on a actually closely related subject. So you're saying random things occur, and as the team here know, I have the 2022 Model 3. So for some random, and I have my excess speed beeper on, as you may remember. So for some reason in my home street, it changed to a 30-kilometre-an-hour speed limit. This is suburbia, so it's supposed to be 50, just randomly, and was beeping. My wife goes, "Why is that beeping at us?" And I looked, and it was saying 30. Where it got the 30 from, I have no idea. So I actually went to OpenStreetMaps because I haven't been for a while. And again, for those who've been around will remember Harold and that diagnosing what the issue was with the 5-kilometre speed limit near the Karrinyup Park. So I went in there and I've got some good news potentially. So that 5-kilometre, they fixed half of the side of the road, you may remember for those who've got the memory, and the other half going, which way is it? Anyway, whichever direction is south, going south, had fixed, and going north had retained at 5. However, looking yesterday to see whether my street for some reason had been changed to 30, I looked there as well and it has been changed. And I also looked on the road because there was a person on our Facebook page complaining about the 100 limit on the road between Mandurah and Bunbury, showing 100 on the actual speed indication required, even though we all know it's 110 down there. So I checked that, and all of that's 110. It's all showing well, and also that 5 kilometre is been fixed. So I'm thinking that at the next map update from Tesla, we might get some of these old pains in the bum speed limit things change, which might actually help some of the self-driving as well.
Yeah, the thing with this with FSD supervised is, I mean, I don't know if anyone else, well, I'm sure others have experienced this. In 110 zones, it often displays 100, and even, but it will change to what it sees if it sees a proper speed sign.
Yes.
There are other places, a lot of the 50 zones seem to default to 40, unless you sometimes go through a school zone where at the end of a school zone it'll show a 50 and then optically sees a sign, because there aren't that many speed signs in suburbia. The good thing is FSD doesn't really pay a lot of attention to speed signs, really. Good in the fact that it won't stay at a low speed. Well, actually, it doesn't really stay at the proper speed anyway, so we're all very used to blipping the accelerator. Now, the problem is, and I've sort of alluded to this several times in the past, one of the side effects you can get, because I'm sure most of us in the room have got FSD supervised, are just far too used to pulse width modulating our accelerators to keep the speed up. The problem is sometimes you get so used to doing that you can provoke some unintended consequences, such as the car changing lanes when you didn't really want it to. But that's because you blip the accelerator. It goes, well, there's a slower car in front of me. I'm now going to change lanes into a faster lane, or a lane that it perceives to be faster. And then you can kind of have this cascade of negative effects further down the road, whereby you go, well, I really wish it wasn't in the inner lane on the freeway when I've got to cross 3 lanes to get to the exit 500 meters down the road. So I think once we get the next update, there's going to be a lot of changes. But FSD, thankfully, like I said, doesn't really, unlike autopilot, doesn't really closely adhere to speed limit signs or speed limit databases. So driving around Australia, for example, where Pete and I, we didn't use autopilot 100% of the time because there were big stretches where it incorrectly interpreted the speed limit. And when you're in rural areas, the car only allows you to go 10 kilometers an hour over the speed limit that it thinks is in force. Whereas in cities, built up areas, it lets you go as any number of kilometers above the speed limit that it thinks. So Perth included. So in your case, Mike, you're in a 50 zone, it sees a 50 sign, you can just dial up your desired speed to 100 k's an hour if you dared, and the car in autopilot would happily do that. But if you go past York or wherever, the car will go, no, the maximum you can do is 10 kilometers if you've applied a 10 kilometer per hour offset on the speed limit for autopilot and traffic aware. And then that's autopilot. If you're on traffic aware cruise control in the classic autopilot car, you can go as many kilometers an hour above the limit as you like, but you've got to steer yourself. So that's what Pete and I would often do, is choose to keep a speed that we desire and manually steer. But with FSD, you don't have to do that. You just have to blip your right foot every now and then to keep the speed up.
The other thing too, Harold, I've noticed in my car, if you blip the accelerator and use the scroll wheel to go up, it will actually hold your current speed.
Now, the scroll wheel is to set the
So instead of,
maximum.
You know how you scroll up for 5 kilometers if you're really fast?
Sorry, you mean in FSD, Alex, or in autopilot?
In autopilot or FSD.
Oh, No. Okay, there's a difference. So
Is
in
it? Okay.
autopilot, so in autopilot, the scroll wheel speed setting, which in the city can be at any unlimited speed up to 100 and I can't remember, 130, 140, I can't remember. Um, but in autopilot, that is the desired speed. In FSD supervised, you'll notice that the speed, it's in blue, small blueprint, but next to it is the word max. So that's the maximum speed. It's not the desired speed, it's the maximum speed. And that can be useful sometimes if the car misreads a speed limit. And this often happens in a school zone. You, and in fact, it's been explained to me that the coding that's surrounding that maximum speed setting basically the only C++ coding that FSD supervised down under has, and that literally mandatorily sets the maximum speed. If the car is going faster than that, and that you scroll down the scroll wheel, the car will very, very quickly reduce speed down to no more than that blue set speed limit setting, the maximum setting. Autopilot's the opposite. It's the target. In FSD supervised down under, it's the limit, absolute limit, regardless, unless you use the accelerator to override it. And then as soon as you have overridden it and lift off, and now the car's under automatic control, it will very, very quickly decelerate down to that limit and or less.
That's-
Alrighty. Any other questions or comments? Oh, what I should have said, I don't know if I did, was if there's anyone new and is comfortable in saying so, please say hello. Or even if you haven't been on the program for a while, if you'd like to reintroduce yourself, that'd be cool too. Or just ask a question or a
Harold,
comment.
I've got I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment, but um, when I was driving up north, Exmouth and that area, I was out of the normal, what is it, the rest of the Tesla car, loses its maps and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I found also was that communicating with the car via my phone wouldn't work quite often. It seemed like it just didn't communicate. I don't know if that's something I'm doing or whether that's
So,
common.
Steve, when you say communicate, what do you mean? Do you mean under Bluetooth streaming audio or something, or
Uh,
what do you
oh
mean?
no, when I was just trying to control the car, either the charging monitor something, how many kilometers it had charged or whatever from the app on my phone, it would not communicate. And I just
Oh,
figured it was
yes.
because Tesla was out of range. There was didn't
Oh,
have comms, so it.
yes. Okay. So if you're in a remote area, so are you with Telstra by chance?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm pretty certain that the Tesla uses the Telstra network as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your phone and the car have the same quality of communications at the same time.
Mm.
So it only takes one of those links to be broken for
I,
you not to be able to effectively see what's going on with your car or control your car through your Tesla app
I
on your
believe
phone.
it uses the wholesale Telstra network like Belong and Audi Mobile do, which is a restricted version of the Telstra network.
That
Oh,
would that would make sense because I found when I was traveling that I still would have, mobile phone coverage on my Telstra, but the car had lost comms. And so what I would do is just go Wi-Fi from my phone to the car, and then
yep.
I'd get my maps and things back. But yeah, it's a little bit irritating when you're paying premium, connectivity and you can't even, it's not even as good as your mobile phone. So. Yeah, I just thought
Mm.
I'd ask if that's a common problem or just something I was doing
So
wrong.
Ryan, that's really interesting. That might be something useful to try and clarify with Tesla, because the
Yeah, I
fact
think
is,
I read
Belong
it
is.
somewhere.
So go, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry, I think I read it somewhere when I first got my car, just checking out what they use, because I've got patchy reception up here. So I don't remember where I read it, but it was I believe I know that the LD Mobile, for example, you don't get the same coverage even though it's
Yes.
using Telstra, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure the Tesla SIM has a similar wholesale Telstra plan, not the full Telstra plan.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That's something. Look, next time, I was going to say, Ken, you won't be able to test that because I dare say anywhere between Gero and Perth is all part of the wholesale network. Like it's not remote. It's not considered remote.
There are
I
already
don't.
some significant gaps even between Perth and Gero,
Yeah. Yeah.
but and they exist on both my phone and on the car, which
Yeah.
is why I now have a permanently fitted Starlink. But and that obviously I don't notice the problem anymore. But yeah, there are some pretty solid gaps in
Yeah.
the northern corridor.
So yeah, cool. So Steve, I mean that's if you're a
Yeah,
seasoned road tripper, that a Starlink Mini. Oh, look, it's. I mean, eventually, in a few years, Teslas will utilize Starlink's service nationwide to augment the gaps, and it'll be seamless, most
right.
likely. Uh, whether, well, I don't know whether Tesla will do it via Telstra as a deal or Tesla's Telstra and Starlink. Should I say, will Tesla negotiate with Starlink to make Telstra enable direct to satellite data through the GSM network be available for no extra cost to Teslas? Because that will be the ultimate solution, is just go via Starlink directly rather than having to have a Starlink Mini mounted on your dash or something like that. Having said that, it's a cracker of a service, and I know a mate of mine and a friend of the channel is Jason Stanley. He's got a Starlink Mini, and he has tested using it with its most basic standby plan, which is a mere 500 kilobits per second, half a megabit per second.
Yeah, you
Which
routinely get a megabit for $8.50 a month.
that's a standby. I thought it was half a
Yeah.
megabit, Ken.
Yeah,
That's a
but
standby one.
sometimes it lets more
Yeah,
through. Sue
exactly.
successfully took a Zoom call in the passenger seat of the car using standby, and it worked fine.
And when you say Zoom, you mean Zoom with video?
Yep.
Oh wow! So it just goes to show, and of course, if we wound the clock back 25 years to the turn of the century, we'd all be beside ourselves, going that, oh my God, half a megabit per second on a moving device is just mind blowing, and you must be just lying. It's in the deep future. Something as basic as that costing roughly, well, less than $10 a month. I mean, why wouldn't you just carry one of those anyway? Just because you can. It's
And you can
equivalent
plug
of
it
the
straight
old.
into one of the USB-Cs in the back of the car, and there's no pissing about. It just works. In the Model 3, you can stick it on the back parcel shelf and tether it to the center
Yes.
child seat mount, and it's so simple. Why
Yep.
would you not? They had them on sale for $350 last month.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's and
Pretty
in the old
reasonable.
days, 10 years ago, people used to use Iridium, or 15 years ago, used to use Iridium handsets, which cost a Klondike, just on the off chance you might have to make an emergency phone call.
Oh yeah,
Ever.
in WA Country Health, we have every health centre has at least two, and
Iridiums.
in many cases three, and their days are numbered.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So Steve, yeah, it's very plausible that you're going to have mixed results, and if according to Ryan, if that's correct, if it's the wholesale service, then it's actually guaranteed to be very suboptimal in vast
Yeah.
swathes of the outback
Yeah.
for the
No,
car.
that's all right. I just wanted to, I was just wondering whether there was something I was missing in my setup or whatever, or if it was common. So, yeah.
And
It's
to that
it's the
end,
joys of the Midwest.
Yeah.
and to that end, it's a really good idea. Everyone that buys a Tesla gets 2 RFID cards, and obviously none of us bother to use them because we use our phone as a key, and that's really awesome for the newer Teslas, the Model 3s and Ys. But it's really good idea if you're a bloke or if you're a lady for blokes, put it in your wallet, and for the ladies, put it in your purse. Just put the RFID card, tuck it in one of those, far away little folder thingies or whatever, your little whatever you call it, receptacle that you never use, just on the off chance that something happens with your phone or whatever, or there's some weird communications. You can always manually get into the car with the RFID card, just in case you're in the middle of nowhere and something's wrong with your phone or the communications or whatever. You can always have a token to get into your car. That's always a great pro tip, even though you'll never mainly use it in real life.
Yeah, we had again a camping experience up in Exmouth, or it was Coral Bay actually. No, it was Exmouth anyway, where we were sleeping in the car and we wanted to have nothing running. We wanted to conserve our energy, so we thought, well, this is before we were still learning the ropes, and we thought, oh, if we just turn off our phones, the car won't lock itself. I forget what it was, the logic. But anyway, so we turned off our phones. The car locked itself, thinking we weren't there. And then my wife said, "Oh, we're going to suffocate in here if we don't get, because we didn't have the the climate
Aircon
control
running.
or anything.
Yep.
So because we wanted to conserve energy. So anyway, that was fine. We went. So no, she panicked and she started pushing all kinds of buttons on the door handle. Finally opened it the manual way, and of course then the alarm went off in the campsite, and we're scrambling around to get our mobile phones, booted
Turned
up
on.
again while
Yep.
this is going on. And oh geez, anyway, we're learning slowly, painfully.
And something I learned about turning off mobile phones, if it's an iPhone, I'm not sure if Androids do a similar thing. There was a great Scott Manley video of him visiting the SETI antenna cluster. And what they actually do is they say, don't turn your phone off, put it in, because the antennas are so sensitive that mere Wi-Fi could destroy the amplifiers, or certainly make them less effective. They said, don't turn your phones off, simply put them in airplane mode and then turn off Wi-Fi. And I think maybe turn off Bluetooth, because if you turn your phone off, especially iPhones, as part of the Find My iPhone, because if someone pinches your phone, the first thing they're going to do is turn it off. What it actually does, and they know this because they're into this sort of stuff, is for quite some time afterwards, it will occasionally silently wake up and blurt out a Bluetooth token for any other Bluetooth devices to pick up to say, I am here. So, turning off devices sometimes gives you the opposite result, or a less than desired result.
Yeah.
But these days, I mean, the thing is, Steve, in camp mode, the car really doesn't use that much energy just being in standby.
Well, I got caught out. I got caught out a couple of times almost because, each night it can use 7% or something. And if
Yes.
you're at a place for 5 days and you're down at, 50% and so you can lose 30% or so.
Yes. Yep.
And so that was what
Yeah,
I
true.
was trying to avoid. Well, because we didn't have we could have gone back in to Exmouth, which was no problem. But anyway, it's just thinking some things you've got to think about. It doesn't turn itself fully off.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big ones is Sentry mode. So
Yeah.
your hardware, your autopilot hardware or FSD hardware computer, because it's running the cameras, I think there's a slightly more efficient version of Sentry mode whereby you turn off camera detection and you just have, well, actually on the newer versions there are no ultrasonics, so there's really nothing else for it to detect other than a shock. So if someone breaks the glass, it will detect that because it's a shock. It'll use its accelerometers to detect that. So you can put the car in a less sensitive Sentry mode, But Sentry Mode's a big killer. That's the one where you're drawing a couple of 100 watts continually, which over a 24-hour period adds up to a few kilowatt hours. And like you say, Steve, that will progressively drain a reasonable percentage every day.
Yeah, and
Doing
we had
nothing.
accessories always on as well because we're running a little fridge too, so that
Yep.
didn't help. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's you live and learn. Getting there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anyone else got any questions or comments? Or we can have a short December
I've got another
show.
comment if you're
Yeah,
interested.
go.
I don't know
Yeah,
if
go.
anybody's experienced this. It was also coming back from Calgary, from up north, and decided to go inland to per injury, and I I was doing about 95 kilometers an hour on a country road, and a fox darted out in front of me with probably a native animal in its mouth. And it was on autopilot, and that car hit the brakes before I could get my foot on the brake pedal and saved
Oh,
the
great.
fox. But
That's a
ironically,
shame.
yeah, ironically, the native animal got the worst of it. So, and since then, I've had two instances where birds flying across in front of the car have actually, stopped the car, well, slowed it down. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And FSD does similar things. And like we've said in the past or recently, FSD is a total 10 times. It's a complete phase change of control and perception compared to basic autopilot. But that's really good, Steve, that your car's getting some good detections. It doesn't always do
Yeah.
that, but when it does, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I was having a discussion with a friend who has a Model 3 and she doesn't like to use the cruise, the autopilot. She doesn't trust it. And she hit a kangaroo and did a lot of damage both to her car and, of course, killed the kangaroo. So I said, well, at the time I hadn't experienced anything like that. And so I said, I wonder if it would have helped if she'd had the autopilot on. And I think the answer is probably quite likely, but it's hard to say. It's probably a shade of gray area.
It's very
Oh, yeah.
grey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kangaroos
I-
are pretty tricky,
Yeah.
and they're astoundingly stupid, and also can appear out of nowhere really fast. So maybe, but
I've
my
got a big
experience is we hit a kangaroo with autopilot on, and it is what it is. But I had to amplify what you said before on the way back down Albany Highway, I had it slow down perfectly to avoid a magpie that was being a little bit too slow to get out the way. And I reckon we missed him by, that much. The car slowed down, just lifted off like maybe 10, 15 kilometers an hour. He got out
Yeah.
the way and then the car accelerated again. So it is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I had
Where
an
I-
interesting
where
one
I
like
live.
the first week that I subscribed to FSD. There was I think it was a small native pigeon. It was on the road. It was just near my house. And I was driving up there, was using FSD and it was coming out and you sort of waiting for it to fly off because you would have seen us coming for a fair way. And it didn't. And at the last minute, it changed direction and went straight under the wheels and the car went straight over the top of it. I was like, oh.
And therein lies kangaroos are the classic wicked problem. And a few episodes ago, I showed a couple of videos that I took on my FSD lap, and there are many kangaroo collisions that are literally unavoidable by the laws of physics. It's just they are so inconsistent, and it wouldn't matter if you were superhuman or the car used, faster than light physics to fictitiously, if you had thrown a brick wall in front of the car to make it stop to not hit the kangaroo, yeah, that's fine. It would have converted the car into a scrap pile, and all the humans into compost. Even then, yes, okay, the kangaroo survived. So there's some things that are by definition physically unavoidable, but there are other times where the car does perform really well. So we need to accept in Australia, and other countries do this too with various wildlife, some collisions are just going to happen regardless. And we just need to stop obsessing about whatever system has to be perfect, because nothing's perfect.
What I thought was interesting in that particular one was it didn't seem to react at all. Like it didn't slow down. It didn't. I didn't notice any change at all. It just went bloop straight over the top and was like, oh.
Mm.
Which I thought was
Yeah,
interesting. It didn't see it and go, oh, what's it doing? And show any sort of reaction. It just kept going.
well, I've seen my car, avoid fairly small roadkill, and I was quite impressed. It sort of went around it. The other day, uh, I was on I can't remember the road now, but anyway, it had two lanes going through an intersection. I saw this small, skinny, long cardboard box, like a little one, about say 2 inches tall, and I don't know, 50 centimeters wide, maybe a little bit longer, 60 centimeters wide, or long, should I say? And then I saw what looked like, those icicle LED lights. We know where you got a string and they're like little icicles flowing down. I thought, oh, there's like these icicles that are just like leaking out of this box. And the two left wheels of my car sort of just went over it because the FSD kept the car in the lane, and this box was in between the two lanes. My brain somehow, I think just as I sort of went da-dung over it, thought, oh God, I hope they're not a box of Bunnings or whatever collimated screws where you get like this plastic sort of holder, and you got all these plasterboard screws in it, and you put it in this plasterboard screw doodad, and it automatically puts in screws. Sure enough, I get to the shops around the corner, and I'm going, oh no, I'm pretty sure that's a whole bunch of collimated screws. And sure enough, yes, I collected a tech screw in the rear tire, and it's like, oh, I really wish FSD had done what I should have done, which was just grab the wheel and just avoided something I didn't really quite know what it was. Even though it might have been low and small, it kind of would have been useful to avoid it. So sure enough, after later on, a couple of days later, I got my unvulcanized slug kit, parked the car so that that quarter of the back tire was facing backwards where the tech screw was, unscrewed it, jammed in the slug, and that'll be good for the rest of the life of the tire. But yeah, sometimes you want it to be a little bit better and detect everything. But in the States, there's been videos where a maple leaf has been tumbling across the road and the car balks at it.
Well, that's what
And,
they're all complaining about, is that one of the new interim versions of 14 blowing
yeah.
leaves is freaking it out. And they're all going,
And look, to be honest, us as humans, humans, as dumb as we are or whatever our foibles, and as slow as our processing is for maths and other things compared to computers, you can't underestimate the executive function of our brain to be able to identify objects very precisely. So we know it's a maple leaf. We know the difference between a maple leaf and a waka or something or whatever. But to get a neural network that's a very minor approximation of a tiny fraction of a brain, like a very small fraction, to do such high order executive functioning is pretty ambitious. So yeah, we've got to cut it a
seems
bit
like they've
slack.
mostly fixed that leaf issue by just doing a bit more training. So
Yes, yeah. And make no mistake, this is how they do it. They have this effectively like a black box with lots of dials, and they kind of roughly, from experience, know how to adjust most of them, roughly. And then they train it literally on, I don't know whether it's hundreds of thousands of hours or millions of hours, I don't know, of just examples of driving and observed behavior. And the neurons, or the synthetic neurons, kind of get adjusted to try and replicate that behavior in all examples. And yeah, to be honest, it does a very good job, but it can't be perfect because it's not a brain with, I don't know how many trillion synapses and whatever. They can never make a brain. But then maybe nor they should, because us with brains get pretty useless when we're tired and distracted and whatever.
Harold, I've got on the topic of tires, if you don't
Sorry,
mind.
Steve. I just saw Ryan. We'll go to Ryan first. He's got his hand
Yeah,
up
no, just
patiently, and then Steve. Sorry, Steve.
Okay.
Go, Ryan.
just one scenario based on what you're saying there that I found that was a big wake up call. In the oncoming traffic, there was a bus pulled over that then indicated to come out, and a car approaching the bus had to avoid the bus and come into the oncoming lane. All the other cars moved over because there was plenty of room, car parking spots or whatever, to let that car through. But because I was in FSD, it didn't. And I wasn't able to react fast enough to move over. The car looks like it moved about 20, 30 centimetres over and it avoided the collision, but it was too close to be comfortable as the car tried to squeeze through between the bus and me. Whereas if I was driving, I would have moved right over into the lane and let the person through. So it's sort of one of those courtesy things, but
Yep.
I didn't recognise the scenario fast enough to go, hang on, this is a danger, this isn't going to do it, bang. And it was brushed past within about 10 centimetres of the car.
Yeah, I've noticed my car not being quite as courteous. It's got a little bit of a gap to the left where I would have gone a bit more left on occasions. One thing that would have helped with your what do you call it? Like to debrief that incident would have been super duper useful, which I know you would not have looked at because you, like everyone else, would be doing the right thing and looking out the windscreen, is actually looking at the touchscreen to see what the car was showing. Because, when you've got time to do that on the freeway, or you've got to do it pretty briefly if you've got no sunnies on, or if you've got sunnies, you sort of got to try and keep your head fairly forward looking and not tilted downwards too much so you can look to the lower left to see the screen. It's got the blue intended path, and you'll also see if it's going to slow down, you'll see those chevrons that sort of come towards you. They're sort of like a lighter and darker blue chevrons, which indicates that the car is slowing down. So it's obviously aware of something up front. What would have been useful is if you had a GoPro or something recording that whole event. So then, as a couch, as a backseat driver, you could then like later on look at what the car was showing on the screen. And yes, granted, it's not as courteous as it should have been, but I'm pretty confident it knew that it could thread that needle, and it obviously did. One thing I think a lot of people that use FSD supervised down under, probably we all notice, is the car is very confident of its boundaries, of its extent, and it can actually slide through some fairly small gaps, which us as dumb humans are kind of stressing, going, do I have enough on the left, enough on the right? We're all trying to jiggle our eyes to make sure it's okay, whereas the car confidently knows. But undoubtedly, for the person coming the other way, they would have been less comfortable because they're thinking, why isn't this car giving me more room when it's probably got more room on that side to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, mine's related to tires again. I had to change a tire on a road trip, and I have the Bromac jack kit, and it comes with the puck. And when I went to jack up, it actually the jack ended up going crooked, it didn't go straight
Yes.
up.
Yep.
Because I noticed the puck had squashed over to one side. Is that's
No,
something
that's not what happened. Well, sorry, that's what happened. That's not what causes it to lean over. Now,
Yeah.
I forget which way it goes. I've jacked my car up many times for various reasons, and I can't quite remember whether the car when it's jacked, for whatever reason, the car actually moves in a direction. I forget whether it moves forwards or backwards. And in so doing, the jack actually then, well, the base
Tilts
doesn't
over.
move, but
Yeah, it
the
has to
top
tilt.
leans
Yeah.
over. And if you keep persisting with that, I'm really concerned that the jack's then going to fail So then so when it happens, and I forget, let's imagine it moves forwards. No, I think it moves backwards actually. So I deliberately lean the jack forwards a little bit, deliberately when I first engage it, so
Okay.
that then once it starts lifting it and the car moves backwards, it basically ends up in line.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's clearly not a fault of the jack. I think all jacks would behave the same because it's just the way the car moves in response to being lifted.
So you're saying the when it changes the geometry, no,
Yes,
or hang on.
there's there's a
Uh,
there's a lateral, whatever you want to call it, a forwards or backwards motion of the car, and that's what causes the problem. It's not the jack, because the jack's got no means of doing that.
yeah, it was very puzzling because I did it 3 times, and each time I
Yes,
did the same thing, and I thought,
yes.
and
So
then I saw the puck had squashed over to
no,
one side, it looked
so
like.
um, it's interesting they include the puck. I've never, to be honest, I've never used the puck, and in
Okay.
fact, I've had a situation south of Alice Springs with my Performance Model Y, the classic Performance Model Y, which is an inch lower than normal Model
Yeah,
Ys. And
yeah.
actually, Model 3s will probably have a very similar problem. The problem was my tyre had completely failed, so it was flat as. So I was sitting on the rim and the remainder of the tyre, and I could not even get the Browmac, or
Get the jack
in this
under.
case it
Yeah,
was the modern spare, but it's the same thing. Without a puck, I couldn't even get that between the bitumen and the car.
yeah,
And mind you, the jack's only oh 70 millimeters tall, maybe, or
yeah,
80.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
it's
Pretty
not
pretty
very
compact.
tall.
Yeah.
It's pretty compact. So fortunately, I had two jacks, and I merely just, and this is a rear tire that had deflated, so I just somewhat slightly jacked up the front because the car is so stiff that if you jack
Mhm.
up the front or the rear, both the front and rear lift up to an
Yeah,
extent.
yeah,
So if you don't have two jacks, what you should do is bring a block of wood that is slightly taller or thicker, whatever you want to describe it, as the jack. And then you just get your jack up the opposite end a little bit until you can fit the block of wood near where you want to jack the actual tire.
yeah.
Deflate that jack, move it to the front or back next to the block of wood onto the jack point. Look, to be honest, I think the puck is sort of like it's like a crutch if you are concerned that you won't line up the jack where you're supposed to, which is near where that hole is in
Yeah,
the chassis.
yeah,
You'll notice that there's a hole, but there's also like a little bit of metal sort of built up around it. And all you need to do is put your jack there.
yeah.
The hole is a guide. That hole is actually used. I
In
forget what
assembly,
Tesla
it's
calls them.
assembly, isn't it?
It's an
Yeah,
assembly. It's an assembly thing where
yeah,
they can lift the car. They can either lift it from above, having like G clamps that sort of go around the car. I'm not doing that really well, but anyway, it comes from the top, and then there's a little nipple that, and the car sort of sits on that little thing there.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so it's
Okay,
mainly
so it's
used for
more of a
assembly.
guide. It's more of a guide than,
It's more of a guide, and I
so
guess
you,
the puck was an easy sort of. We'll put it this way: Tesla don't. Oh no, maybe they do sell pucks. I'm not sure now, but
I think
the,
they come with, well, I'm not sure. I
they come
inherited
with
one,
they come
but
with the brown mat kit.
yeah,
But I'm not sure if Tesla ever actually sold jacking pucks. They might have, because they can be useful for some of the mechanics hoists where you might risk damaging the battery if you're not careful, battery pack, because it's often right there or right next to the jacking
yeah,
point. But in
yeah.
any case, you don't need to use a puck, but it
Okay.
just helps to sort of make it. It helps you to not make a mistake, and because what you don't want to do is jack the car from its battery pack, because then you might indent it and damage some cells,
Yeah.
which would be bad.
Yeah. The other thing, of course, is because you got 500 kilos on each corner effectively, when you start jacking, one place it was just pushing the jack into the ground. I needed more surface area to spread
So,
it.
yep. So,
So that's
so when I had this instant flat because the entire tread failed, well, it was worn down past the belts. Um, it was on the left-hand side. So what I already knew this because I jacked it before, is I strategically drove to the wrong side of the road. This is at, 1:45 in the middle of nowhere. Drove on the wrong side of the road to make sure that my left tires were on the bitumen and the rest of the car was on the shoulder or the
Yeah,
verge,
yeah,
so that
right.
I could jack off the bitumen because
Yeah.
obviously the bitumen's solid. Because if you try and jack off a dirt shoulder, you're just going to bury your jack unless you've got someone to disperse the weight.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
another pro tip. If you get it on the left-hand side of your car, just go to the wrong side of the road. There's nothing. This
Yeah,
is an
yeah,
emergency.
there's
There's nothing
ways
wrong
to
with
do it.
that.
It's just, yeah, if you were in a
Yeah.
dirt road though, you'd be
Oh,
in
different.
real trouble.
Yes. Yep.
And I was thinking of carrying an aluminium plate, maybe, 9 mils thick or something,
Yep.
because that's light and it's strong enough, I think, to distribute the load,
Yes.
A bit of
at
ball
least
bag,
to
very
get it
good.
to, yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anyone else?
Just a quick one on jacking. What's everyone done in terms of rotating their tyres? Do you go to a Tesla service centre or just any tyre repair place? Are you confident with them doing it?
You can do it three ways. You can actually Tesla usually does it in situ. So Ben, one of the Tesla Rangers, mobile, let's call him a mobile mechanic or mobile technician, can do it at your house or at your workplace. I can't remember how much it costs. It's less than
I'm out in
100.
Carradale, so they probably won't come out that far, I don't think.
Sorry, did you say Armadale?
Carradale, yeah.
Jarradale. Oh, well, you could ask the question.
Yeah.
You could pose the question so they'd either invite you to come into a service centre or they might do you on a milk run or something like that. Alternatively, you can go to any tyre place because obviously they can do it. When you say rotation, though, the only rotation that happens is front to back.
Yep.
They don't rotate left to right. So, so that's the second. So, first alternative is Tesla. Second alternative is any tire place, and the third alternative is you can do it yourself. So, and I've done it a couple of times, and I must admit it's a pain in the rear end because it's just physically just demanding because you're jacking up and jacking down. If you've got like a couple of blocks or something like that for safety, something like I alluded to earlier, if you jack up one side of your car, I think particularly the rear end, high enough, you'll actually get the front tires off the ground. But for safety, you could then just put a safety stand or a couple of brick pavers or something just under, just in case. But I've actually done it with just one jack, jacking up the entire side. So that means that jack is holding in excess of a ton or about a ton. So it's got to be careful. And it can be done, but yeah, take it from me, it's quite physically demanding. And you can sort of say, well, look, I've got a $70,000 car or whatever. Every 10,000 Ks, I can just pay someone $80 or whatever it is to do it. If that's what you want to do every 10,000 Ks, or you could stretch it out to 20. But bearing in mind, you're only going to rotate them front to back, not the reverse, unless you have cars with offset tires, which I think that Uber turbines are different sizes on the Model Y Performance.
Yeah, and the Model 3. You can only
And the
go
Model
side to side.
3. So you can only go side to side. And I'm not even certain. I don't know if those tires are directional or not. Maybe they're not. Maybe you can do that. I know Tesla on symmetrical tread rim layouts, they only go front to back. They don't go left to right. And to be honest, yeah, I'm not entirely certain whether rotating the tires really does much. To be honest,
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
to be brutally honest, I rented a Model Y, a standard range classic Model Y in New Zealand, and when I found out that there was a slow leak in one of the tires and I looked at them, all four of them they were all evenly worn down past the belts on the very inner edge of each tire, all four of them, all at the same time. So yeah, I I I personally question the usefulness of rotating your tires, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, I think you probably only just monitor, and if they start wearing unevenly,
Oh,
then you just rotate them.
and
That's
and
what
Yeah.
I
please,
do.
yeah, and please, don't do what I usually do, and everyone does, which is say on your back tires, just have a bit of a look. And the bit of a look is you look at what you can see, and what you can usually see is obviously all of the sidewall, your outer sidewall, the outer edge, and you can see the three tread wear indicators, the little lumps that obviously show whether your tire tread is too low, but that's not good enough. What you need to do is get down on your hands and knees, put your head under the car safely, and look at the inner dark corner. So got to get your phone out, put this torch on, and look at the very inner edge between, let's call it the bit of tread that's on the sidewall to the flat bit, and look at that bit of tread, because that's the one that famously wears down past the belts. And it does that because most people don't notice. And if you're used to just bending down and putting your fingers to just check the tread wear indicators to make sure they're still lumps and not flat or smooth, that won't cut it, because just past where you're feeling, there'll be broken belts and steel fragments of wire poking out that you won't feel if you don't put your hand all the way round or look on that inner edge. Another trick is, if it's on the front tires, just put your tires on full lock, say to the left, and look at your left tire, because then you can see the entire tread, all of it. And then while you're inching forwards or backwards, do it to the other side and check the opposite side. But please check your tires sporadically, especially once you've done more than, say, 50,000 kilometers. And for every 10,000 after that, please check.
It,
For
it's
example, these New Zealand things, these tires were past belts, and that car had done 79,000 Ks, which is actually not bad for Tesla tires.
But isn't that an alignment issue rather than a rotation issue? Presumably, they set the tires up at, well, I don't know what angles they set them up, but I,
It's a lot of modern tires have excessive camber, and on Teslas,
yeah.
the rear camber is literally not settable. It is fixed in the geometry of the vehicle. So it's exacerbated on performance cars, which are the performance variants, because they are about an inch lower. But in so making them lower, they don't adjust the geometry. And when you push a suspension down the way it's been set up, the camber, which is the angle off the vertical, so rather than being straight, it splays out. And if you look at a performance Model Y or Model 3, and you just look at the comparison of the body panels, so the door panels, you go to the back of the car, just look down, sort of glancing at the back wheels, you can literally see them splayed out like this slightly. And it's actually very obvious. And that's basically cutting the insides. And unfortunately, it's not just a Tesla thing. AMG, Mercs, and BMWs, and all of those performance cars, they're much worse. You go to a expert suspension place, which I've been to, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, those AMG Mercs and M3s and M whatevers, M cars, the BMWs, they're lucky if they get 20,000 Ks on a set of $1,000 tires," and they just accept that because it's a racing car.
This is fun.
I seem to recall James from Tesla saying that the X5 was the worst. But yeah, it's for this exact reason that I run both our S and X at 50 maximum cold rated pressure, and that seems to have done the trick on both. Both of them.
It can help. Unfortunately, on Model 3s and Ys,
You get
and
an alert, don't you?
I've run mine at 50, or actually when I go up north, I'll run them in Perth at say 45, and they'll get up to about 52. Once they hit about 52 and a half, you get a
Yeah.
red.
Pressure.
I think it's red. High pressure. No, it's not red. It's I think it's amber. I think it's an amber warning saying high pressure, which is fine because tyres are rated at cold inflate of whatever it is, 50 psi, and that's cold. That's not maximum pressure. It's just cold pressure. But yeah, it's a known thing. The rears the camber cannot be adjusted, and on the fronts there's a limit to the adjustment. And Tesla recommends whatever degrees of negative camber. I forget what it's called, negative or positive. But it's just the nature of the cars we're dealing with, and modern cars in general. But like I said, it's just what it is. But please just be aware of it. If your car's done more than say 50,000 Ks on that set of tyres, just monitor them every 10,000 Ks thereafter, because it'll be the inner edge that will go. And I mean, it's not the end of the world if you get a flat. The good thing is, from experience, I've had a instant flat at 110 Ks an hour, and the cars are so stiff that nothing bad happened. All I heard was a intense hiss for about a second, and in less than that time, my TPMS went off, and I heard, like the beep beep beep, and saw just red 0 psi basically, and the car came to a gentle stop. It wasn't wiggly. It wasn't unstable. So it's not a disaster, but you just want to avoid the inconvenience of being, having to change a spare tyre on the side of the road. Sorry, Paul and Steve, I didn't see who went up first. Actually, we'll go Paul and then Steve.
I was just wondering if you guys saw the Optimus video today of him running. That was very
Yes.
exciting. Have you got it?
I'm going to have to get it. Just 2 seconds.
No
Like I
worries.
said, Paul, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I don't know.
Can't wait for that order now button.
It looks like me when I've got sore muscles.
I'm gonna say
And
it was running
it
quite
was
well.
confirmed by some nerds that it actually is a run,
Yes.
because there was one frame whereby, because the definition of a run as opposed to a walk, actually it was a jog, but it's still a run, is you've got to have lift off of both feet. And there was a frame that had it was only by an inch, like
Yeah.
maybe one frame, but it did definitely show it was a jog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I'm
was.
gonna just, whoops, sorry.
No, you're not showing it. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Dr.
no,
Scott
I'm
Walter.
just spooling it up. I'm just got to get.
Yeah. No,
I had
that's
to
all right.
turn
I
my
was just saying
speaker off. Yeah, no,
Dr.
it's
Scott
pretty
Walter
cool.
was the guy that comes out.
Yes, that's right. On Herbert's So there you go. I think it was actually the latter.
Yeah, just
It
towards
was
there.
that one. No,
Yeah.
that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's down on the left leg, up on the right, and you can definitely see that the left leg is up, and so is the right one.
Hmm.
So that, and it was confirmed that it was doing 8 kilometers an hour jog, and that's compared to the Joe Biden shot from earlier days, 2 years earlier, which is damn cool.
Very cool.
Which, Elon Musk has. Oh, and in an interview, I forget the gentleman's name, but he basically
Oh.
said that he's expecting Optimus to go into volume production by the American summer next year, which is, let's call that 6 months. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I watched that interview. That was it was interesting. It was different questions and stuff as well. So
I believe this gentleman's a fairly successful investor.
yeah,
And he asked a question that Elon Musk, if I was Elon Musk, I would have gone, oh man. But anyway, he asked, so if there was any company in the world that you would want to, can you name a business in the world that you would invest money in to buy its shares on purely business grounds as opposed to altruistic grounds?
yeah,
So, so he's obviously looking for a company that Elon Musk would pronounce as being, and one that he doesn't actually own already, or
yes,
isn't one of his own companies, to invest in. And of course, Elon Musk politely sort of said, well, Google's kind of doing all right, or it would have to be one that does robotics or AI or,
yeah.
whatever.
That
But of
was funny.
course, the correct answer would be, well, he actually did say he doesn't invest in companies. He usually just builds them and ends
Yeah,
up owning shares in them because he built it or he
yeah,
started it. But the correct answer was always one of mine, you idiot. Like I am the best allocator of capital, the most efficient and most successful allocator of capital,
yeah.
which is usually what the definition of a private enterprise is, hopefully a successful one. But yeah, it was good. It didn't really give us much news that we haven't already
No.
heard, except for the Optimus volume production in the American summer next
Yeah.
year, which is pretty good. All right. Oh, Steve, sorry, you got your hand up.
Yeah, mine's more mundane. Back to the tire pressures. If you rotate the tires, the manual, somewhere I read you have to get the tire pressure sensor system recalibrated so that the wheel represents at the right corner. Is that correct or not? Because I
Oh,
I
yes.
had,
So yes. So okay. Yes. So when you do a tire rotation,
yeah,
you should reset the tire.
TPMS, tire
T,
pressure monitoring
TPMS,
system.
TPM.
is it the CPMS? I thought it was the. You basically say that you've had a tire rotation in the service menu
Okay.
because there is a setting whereby, and I've seen this error a few times, or this notification, when you get uneven tire wear, the car will actually warn you because the ABS sensors, each wheel has a toothed
Speed sensor. Yeah,
speed
that's right.
sensor.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it has a reluctance, whatever
traction control.
speed sensor.
Yep.
So it knows the rotational speed of each wheel independently, and if
Yeah.
it's generally, and it knows. I mean, when you're going around a bend, obviously the left to right changes, and front to back a tiny little bit. But when you're on a generally straight piece of road, on average, they should all be rotating at the same rate. And if they're not, it either means one tire is flatter than the other, which, by the way, is how what is now called the standard, let's call it the cheap Model Y and Model 3, that doesn't have TPMS, so tire pressure monitoring systems, or pressure sensitive ones. They infer a flat tire because when your tire's flat, the diameter is reduced because it's flat, and then that wheel will speed up, and then it can infer fairly accurately that you've got a flat tire. On a more subtle note, given that the car knows that each tire pressure, it can kind of probably adjust for a bit of difference caused by tire pressure, but instead infer that one of your tires might be excessively worn, like the tread might be worn because that wheel is going faster than the others relatively. So I think when you do a rotation, you need to recalibrate it. Although it's usually probably better if you've got new tires because then it zeroes everything out. But there is that zeroing setting.
I think it it will work it out for itself if you do nothing, but it can take a little while. But
Yep.
it doesn't hurt to do a sensor reset, which you don't need to do from service mode. It's just in
Yes,
it's just
software.
in
Service.
control settings, service and reset tire pressure
Paul,
sensors.
can you just, you're in the car, can you have a look at that, please? Just go into service. What's it called? Is it tire rotation?
It's in
Well, there's wheel
controls,
and tire.
settings, service and reset.
Yeah, wheel
Okay.
setting.
Yeah,
After
it's just-
rotation, you mean?
Your car will automatically reboot to update
No.
tires.
No.
And then
Yeah,
your
yeah.
tires, yeah,
There's a rotation thing. There's a timer that says
tire rotation.
I
Yeah.
remember
yes,
seeing
because you'll
something,
get
yeah.
you get a notification that says it's been more than 10,000 kilometers and your tires are due for a rotation. So you
Yeah, I
can
just ignore
occasionally
that.
get. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Because I haven't rotated mine in 42,000 Ks, and I'll be all right.
Yeah. I think I might be 50 now.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
as Ken
But
said,
it does reset up if you leave it for, like, I think we ended up doing about 2,000 Ks before it actually did. But
Yep.
it was sort of like two
reset.
or 3 days after.
Yes. Yep. It'll kind of work it out by itself.
Yeah, you can do that.
On that differential tire diameter thing, I tried putting a 20-inch tire rim, wheel on as a test if I had to use it as a spare, if I had the other three with 19-inch rims. And I found that it did that lockup. It would put the brakes on thinking on that tire,
Yeah.
thinking that there's a slip.
Slippage. Yeah.
And so then I tried it with in the off-road mode, and I think the slip, the slip whatever
Slip
mode.
start.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then it didn't do that braking.
Yes.
But you had to remember to do that. Otherwise, man, that thing got hot. Those brakes got hot so fast.
Yes.
Within less than a kilometer, it was burning almost. It was.
Yeah, and that's an issue that some people have come across using the Braumac spare tire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that's and the thing that frustrates me is I use the modern spare tire, even though it's basically the same thing. And to be honest, I didn't notice anything. But that's not to say it didn't happen. It's just that I didn't notice it. So either
I measured the difference in the diameter of the 19 and the 20-inch tires, and it's about 10 millimeters. So it's significant.
yeah, it might be on that. That's probably beyond the threshold. And the frustrating thing with tires is the tire that there doesn't seem to be a standard set of tire diameters that are a target diameter that ought to be achieved, regardless of the profile. So when you look at your tires, there'll be, I don't even know what our tires are these days, but in the very olden days when I used to think of these things, you used to have like 195,
Yeah, 20 or whatever. Yeah.
19, 40.
Or
They'd have a profile that the length of the
ratio of the
ratio
depth
of the tire wall length and the tread width is a ratio expressed as a percentage. So they're either 25, which is very low profile, 35s, 45s, and upwards to high profile. I think ours are 35s or 45s. I can't remember. 45. So the tire wall is 45% of the tread width, and the tread width is 235s, 255s, 265s, 275s, blah blah blah. I think the problem is by having incremental tread widths, such as possibly 5 millimeter increments of tread width, and only 5% in 5 percentage point increments of ratio of width to height of the sidewall, and then having inch increments of rims, that it's pretty rare if you have a different profile tire on the same rim.
Have the same
width.
OD. Yeah.
Yeah, that you'll end up with the same overall tire diameter. I guess the thing was, in the olden days, we didn't have ABS and all of those sort of things when all these standards were kind of
Yeah.
not locked in place, but they all became kind of like a standard way of doing things. I dare say, what ideally there should be is there should be a standard starting diameter of a certain tire. So there should be whatever it is, 600 mil diameter tires and 650 mil and whatever for different size vehicles. And then no one would care if the ratio, like 265, rather than 45%, it was 47 or 43. We don't care what that ratio is too much. What you really these days want is a fairly accurate overall diameter, because that's what all these sensors are working off. I guess the way to cure that would be and this is another software upgrade that we'd like Tesla to do, is it'd be useful if you fit a tire to your car, even if it's a spare, if you could go into the menu and say, I've just fitted a 265, 55, whatever, 18-inch rim or tire as the spare, and the others could be 19-inch or 20s or 22s, and then the computer goes, oh, I know what that means, and then it won't do this ABS slip start thing.
Yeah.
That'd be useful, because tires aren't all the same diameter across different rim sizes, which can be an issue, which is an issue.
Yeah.
Mike. Go, Ken.
Yeah, quick counterpoint on that. The two standard tires on the Model 3, the 18s and the 19s, are exactly the same diameter regardless.
Oh, right.
So they're both 235 so you can interchange and use a spare 18 or a 19, and they're the same.
Yeah, cool. But I assume if you go the other way, you get the 21s and the
I was trying to do it with
20s
the
and the 19s.
I was doing a 20 and a 19, so that's probably the reason.
They're all nominally 670.
Cool. Mike.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because I could see Paul looking at his screen for ages there. So I'm reading from my admittedly
I was looking at other shit.
2022 Model 3 manual. So there'll be, and I'm assuming this will probably be the same across all models, recent models. So under tire configuration on whatever page, it says if you do a tire rotation, touch controls, service, and look at the last tire service. And after you rotate them, update your vehicle's tire configuration by touching reset or by touching wheel and tires. This allows your vehicle to reset the learned tire settings and improve your driving experience. Now, that is different from the TPMS issue. So further on, under automatic reset of TPMS sensors, it says after you replace one or more wheels, so that's not rotation, that's replace, because I'm guessing it might have a different TPMS or it's on a different tire, but it says the TPMS sensors automatically reset within 10 minutes of driving over 25 kilometers an hour. So that's just to clarify all that discussion.
Yep.
Now, going back to different tire sizes and what should we call them, profiles, has been an issue ever since cruise control came into vehicles, because that's where it says. So it's actually quite old, Harold.
Yeah.
I can still remember my first car with that. And there are several online sources where you can feed in your tire sizes that you want to play with, and it will tell you the percentage variation on diameter, which is what you want to know about. So I've usually stuck to like 1 or 2% maximum variation, because in fact, if you just take cars in general as opposed to REVs, they're usually set to like something like maximum of 2% reading higher than they should, so that you don't speed. So in other words, the speed indicator is actually lower.
That's
right. So I always used to buy extra size tires so they would actually read correctly. And I did that because I buy wider tires. As you said, instead of say a 235, I might buy a 240 or whatever.
Yep.
Because that gave me rim
extra
protection.
Diameter. Yep.
And it gave me rim protection. Now I'm thinking about doing the same when I come changing to the EV, but of course with EVs there is now a different issue. You put more rubber on the road, you have a efficiency issue. So if you get a wider tire,
Oh yeah. Oh sorry. Yes. Yes. Yep.
right? So let's say, like on my 3, it's 235/40s, I think, for a 19-inch rim, because I have the 19s on my dual motor, not the 18s. So if I go, for example, say to a 240 or something, but I keep the wheel depth the same or the profile the same, then I've got more rubber on the road, and there's a percentage change because there's more friction effectively.
There's more rolling resistance and more wind resistance. Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing for me to think about, because I've literally always had wider than spec tires for the rim rash issue, but it's now a different equation on the EVs because of this issue. I mean, we should all be driving around on pencils.
I was going to say, within the limit, if you had pizza cutters, it should be vastly better. But then you'd just cut the road up, and then your road user charge would go up once they introduce it.
Yes. So I just thought that might help people if they're thinking about this. But online, you can get plenty of these calculators. You can play and just see for yourself, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I dare say if tyres were first invented now, the way that they're measured or the measurements are described would center around their diameter rather than their width and profile ratio. It would be, do you want to buy 600 mil diameter tires or 650s or whatever it is, and do that as the basis of the measurement, with the other profile being another aspect that is not in chunks but more a linear scale, reacting to the geometry difference. Cool. All right. Well, time flies when you're having fun, and even sometimes faster when you're not. But we are having fun tonight. We only got half an hour left, so any sort of later questions?
The update from Carmen.
Oh yes. Oh yes. So Carmen, how did you get on with Collier's? Oh no, you're muted.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Oh, good evening, everyone. The Collier's not so good. They've got two chargers, but a work vehicle. They're not affiliated with any supplier, and they said no to sharing because they're leaving in 3 months.
Well, hang on. So they're leaving.
So I went to Tesla 3 months, and I said, if it's available, can you let me know if you're going to sell it, leave it? And they said it depends on the next tenant, so they will let me know. But in the meantime, I've been going to Tesla chargers at Kings Park. And Sunday morning, it was really busy.
Yeah.
After I had to wait, and then I filled, and I got a notice at the end of the charging to say, due to congestion, there will be a $5 charge in 5 minutes.
Yes.
So I left. Yeah.
Yeah. So in fact, earlier today, in the middle of the day, I saw both Karrinyup and Kings Park were full.
Yeah.
And on the app, it'll show like a wait time. But you're right. So that congestion charge applies if you set your charge limit to above 80%. So obviously it makes sense to leave.
Yes. Well, I don't charge more than 80 anyway. So I was happy to leave. I charged to 80. And it is 2 cents cheaper per kilowatt than Karrinyup. So 61 at Kings Park and 63 at Karrinyup.
But
Yes.
Carmen, before 9 a.m., it's about 30 cents. And after 7 p.m., I can't remember. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so have a look in your app.
So what it is it's 35 cents per unit from 11 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Oh, that's good.
So that's 35 cents per kilowatt hour. In fact, I'll just I should be able to hopefully spotlight.
Oh, yes, I can see. Yep.
So hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
So
That's
from 9
awesome.
to 11, it's 63 cents per unit.
Mhm.
And any other time from 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. I mean, wow, that actually 30, that's a bargain because let's face it, if
Yeah.
you had a house, a normal electricity supply, you're paying the best part of 30 cents per unit,
Yeah.
and that is royal service. That is a bargain, actually.
It is
I've,
because it only took half an hour or 45 minutes, and that's great. Yep, I can easily go at 8 a.m. or 7 p.m.
yeah, yep, yep. And it's
Oh no,
Kings
you said
Park.
it only starts at 11
Yeah, 11,
No,
it's
no,
11 p.m.
11 p.m. until 9 a.m.
a.m. Yes, I can go at 8 in the morning on my way to Subi.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, wow, really thank you for even bringing that up because I didn't even know it was that cheap after hours. That must be a new development. Well, Pete, you should know. That seems relatively new. Such a discount at that
It's been
time.
there for a few weeks.
Yeah,
It's been there
yeah.
for a few weeks. I was there again today at about 6 o'clock, and all 6 stalls were full. Plus, there was another person waiting, but only for a couple of minutes. So yeah, quite often. Actually, I was there about a week ago, and yeah, there was when I got there, all of them were full. Plus, there was another 3 or 4 cars waiting. And I thought, oh, I'm just not going to get a charge, but I'm going to have to wait for like 20 minutes, half an hour. But those 3 or 4 that were waiting, they just gave up after about a minute or so. And then by the time I pulled in, there was 3 vacant bays.
Finished. Yep.
Yeah. So just because all the charges are full doesn't mean you won't be able to charge within a few minutes. So
No, I got a place. I had to wait, but I got a place and I went and saw the 2 cars either side, and one of them said, "Well, I'll be gone in 5 minutes." So
Yep.
that was okay.
Yeah, cool. No,
Yeah,
that's a
so
really good.
that was reasonable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good scoop. That is a really good scoop.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a shame about Colliers.
Yes.
Actually, I might, on behalf of someone who's watching,
Yeah.
I might pass your details on to them and you can have a little chat
Good.
offline.
Yes.
But
Yeah, that'd be
anyway,
good.
well,
Yeah.
that person who's watching, you'll know who you are. So I'll get
Yeah.
I'll get him to give you a call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carmen.
No, that's good.
Sorry, I
Well,
should say
there were
them. I'll get they.
yes,
I'll
yeah.
get what do I
Them.
say these days? I'll get them to they to
Them.
give you a call.
Yes.
Whatever
Yeah.
that thing
That'd be
is.
good.
Cool.
I rang Colliers and I rang 3 numbers and I still couldn't get to the right person. So I just left a note on the car. And
Oh, right. Yep.
but they didn't pick it up because I don't think it's used very much. So then I just waited at lunchtime for one of the staff members to come out, and I gave them the note. And a lady named Rebecca was very kind and got back to me straight away.
Yeah, cool. No
Yeah.
worries. Let me in
Yeah.
fact the person
Yeah.
who's watching tomorrow morning, if you can give me a ring, wink wink, and
Yes.
I'll get you Carmen's number.
Yes,
Um
please.
but look, in any case, even if it's not
Yeah.
successful, hopefully the next
Yes.
tenant, because
Yeah.
the thing is, look, you just want to pay them money to use the charger after hours and they'll
Yes.
never see you
Oh,
and
yes. No,
whatever.
no.
So
Overnight is fine for me,
yeah,
or
exactly.
anytime. I'm up till 11:30 at night anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I went to Coles are ready. They've got some DC chargers, but I was full, so I'll try that one just to check it out.
Yeah, cool. But I think you were
Mm.
saying that does cost an amount of money. That's 60 cents or 80 cents or
Well,
something.
no, well, I spoke to the guy who was in charge of installation, and I asked how much it was, and he said, "Oh, I don't know. I guess about 80." And I said, "Oh, that sounds a bit much." And he said, "Oh, I'm not exactly sure. So I'll test it out just for the fun of it."
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to know just in case.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
And that's also fairly convenient. So
Yep.
I'm not stranded. And in the meantime, I had an EV installer who did my charger, 11 kilowatt charger at Dalkeith. And he came out and he had a look at the boards, and I'm on a ground floor, but I could see by his manner that it looked a bit complicated. And I said, because I'm here temporarily, I don't want to spend thousands, but I would like to sort it out because in the future it will be useful.
Yep.
And he's writing a suggestion, but I haven't received it yet.
Cool. Okay, no worries. Well, please keep us
Yes,
posted.
yeah.
Because, this is a problem that's
Going to
increasingly
recur.
happening.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to keep recurring, especially on the on the older established buildings.
Yes, yes.
But I mean, having said that, I'm getting an apartment off the plan, what's being built now, and I've got to pay $8,000 to get EV charging. Although it's mandatory that they have to be able to offer it, or if I request it, they have to provide it. But certainly at my expense.
What law is that?
Sorry?
Have you got so according to the Strata Titles Act, has that been made a
No,
requirement?
I think it's part of so it's part of the new building requirements, the
Okay,
Australian Building Code,
yeah.
that they have to
Yeah.
provide the
Yes.
ability to
Yes.
have EV charging.
Yes. I
But it's
passed that
not.
note. You put up a note for me last week, and I've sent it to the strata managers who outright said no. And I said, well, and explained what, because they don't know. They're old people that don't know. And I said, you need to start educating yourself. So check this out, check that out.
Yep.
And but nothing, no reply yet. But I said, you can't just say no and leave people in the lurch. I've been
Yep.
fortunate that I've found a way of doing it. But I said, you can't just say you can't charge.
No, because it's no different to people that people that enjoyed using horses,
Yeah.
and then this person, this one in a 100 people that have this horseless carriage, and
Mm.
they go, oh no, we only have a store for hay, we can't store petrol cans or blah blah blah, whatever the story is. Eventually, society moves on and technology progresses, and you go from everyone had a horse to no one has a horse.
Yes,
So
yeah,
and
yeah.
EVs are no different.
No.
This is not a flash in the pan. This is not a temporary fad.
No.
This is a
And
structural change.
no, but the government has made that, and a lot of government vehicles, and I alluded to the fleets that government are using.
Yep.
And, well, I think a more intelligent person would have just embraced it and said, well, we're not ready, and it's a bit earlier than we thought, but look, we'll investigate it and we'll do what we can. That's what you normally do in this
Yeah.
situation. But anyway,
It's no different to the
Mm.
internet, the NBN, other
Yep.
things
Yep.
that are new technologies that
yes,
a couple of generations ago were fictitious.
Yes.
Were science fiction,
yes,
and now it's
Yeah.
so pervasive. It's actually considered a basic.
yes,
It's effectively considered essential infrastructure. So no
yes,
one argues in any
no,
age building that you
yeah,
shouldn't have NBN or
yes,
internet.
yeah, no. Yeah.
So
But the attitude they have here is that this is what it is. If you don't like it, don't come.
yeah, but
And,
but
but I
again,
wasn't told that when I bought it.
no. No, and the great thing
So,
is the modern laws now, the modern building regulations
yes,
literally mandate the ability to have it supplied, not
yes,
necessarily for free or not at all for
yes.
free, but
Oh, I
to
never
be
alluded to that.
supplyable.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Awesome. All right.
yeah.
Well, the story continues, which is
Yes.
like many do. All right, Damo, you've got your hand up.
Hey Harold. Hey everyone. Apologies, I didn't get in till about 8:30, Harold, so I'm not sure it was covered beforehand. But I just wanted to say, thanks to Andrew Harvey and
Oh,
all the
yes.
Topple committee for organising our track day on Saturday, or sadly our final one for now anyway. It was really great day. Everyone well organised. Everyone left happy and safe. It was awesome, and I even got to squeeze in a couple of laps on FSD at the end.
Yes, and thanks to the video, Damo, that was entertaining. Yeah, and a thanks obviously to Andrew, who's not in the room, but to Paul. Oh yeah, Paul's there. Paul's in the car.
Everyone, it was awesome.
Paul was an essential marshal, and
Yep.
Pete was there as well. He was a driver. I think you were a driver, weren't you, Pete? Yeah, I think you were.
Pete was
And
flying in the 2019 Fremont build.
Yes.
We should thank Damo as well, because Damo was instrumental in selling a lot of the last minute tickets as well. And yeah, it was a sellout once again in the end. But yeah,
Thanks, Pete. It's the least I could do. Everything
yeah,
you guys do for
wouldn't
us.
have been a sellout had it been not yourself. So well done.
Thanks, Pete.
And thanks to Steve as well, who helped
And
us.
Steve, yes.
Yeah.
Everyone. It was a really, really great day. It's
And
sad that
Alex Davis took some great footage as well. I think he's still editing it, so
Yep.
he'll upload some more on our Facebook page once he's got it done over the weekend, hopefully.
hopefully I can get some of my footage together in the next next week. I'll probably do it, Pete. I've just been so busy, with work and everything.
But you know what's interesting? The number of people that say to me, "Oh, I wouldn't be interested in self-driving because I actually enjoy driving," and we would have. So there was 20 drivers there, and most of them had FSD, and most of them drove to the track with the car driving itself. And obviously, all those 20 people like driving. They wouldn't go to a track if they didn't like driving.
Yeah.
And then they drove back with the car driving on its own. So
Me included.
and you included, yeah, exactly. So and I mean, I didn't have FSD supervised, but I still drove back on FSD, the old version, and yeah, used it all along the freeway, and so yeah, so this thing, I don't know what you call it. It's not an excuse. It's just a throwaway comment. Self-driving is not for me because I enjoy driving. Well, everyone that was there loves driving, and they still use FSD. So
I got told that the other day, actually, only a couple of days ago. Oh, I like driving. I said, oh, yeah, you don't realise you might like it now.
They like being in control, not driving, because I'm always on autopilot and all that. But then if I'm going through the hills or some windy stuff, then flick it off and off you go, sort of stuff. But actually,
Well, most people haven't had the ability to not drive.
Yeah. Well, like last night.
Exactly.
I chucked it on after the Tool concert because I was coming home after midnight. So I was a bit tired, and I thought, extra set of eyes. It was really good. So, yep.
I really can't wait till they solve it on Hardware 3. They've got to do it.
Yeah.
So it's going to make FSD more affordable. So many people to be able to buy, like a used older Tesla and have FSD on it rather than having to buy, like spend a lot of money on a newer car with Hardware 4. So I'm really hoping they solve that, which I honestly think they will. And soon.
I think you did right, Damo, because a couple of months ago, I'd said I thought the chances were 60-40, 60 hardware, 40 software. I think it's more like 90 software, 10 hardware, because Ashok Goswami basically said we're going to do it, and they will be good enough to be used as robo-taxis, which is a very high level of safety. So that's basically implying FSD unsupervised and sufficiently safe to be used. And Tesla doesn't do things that are unsafe. It just doesn't. So they just don't do things that are unsafe. They're going to release something that they know is not right.
100%.
It will take time, but it will be it's pretty certain it's going to be next year. And the good thing is, and we've said this a few times, there are parallels with large language models which have been crushed down and they call it quantized, and they work remarkably well. And there's every reason to believe that Tesla. And the thing too is, I'm not sure about the worldwide fleet, because the problem is you watch a lot of YouTube videos, and sadly most of the people having technical discussions center those discussions around the United States because, according to them, everything else is a rounding error. But it was said that there are about 3.5 million Hardware 3 cars. Now, that's a minimum. So I'm pretty sure that was with reference to the United States. But you can already see there is a lot of value to be unlocked in doing a simple software update to enable proper FSD on those 3.5 million cars at a minimum. So,
Harold, there's a good chance that I think it will be a hybrid solution where it will have to be both. So even if they're able to solve it from a software perspective, there's still a lot of the 2019 and even some 2020 cars where if you put the indicator on, the indicator light leaches into the camera. Yeah. And during the day, you can sort of get away with it, but at night, it just blinds that camera.
Yeah. So the thing is, the good news about the cameras is that cost is probably in bulk if I have to do it. I mean, the side ones are there's only 2 of them.
Mm.
And I think they're Samsung sensors or cameras, and I think their cost is about $10 each. So if it's, let's call it $50, because you might have to change. They might choose to change, and they're also 1 megapixel, whereas the Hardware 4 cameras are 5 megapixel. But it might be better for the Hardware 3 computers to leave it at 1 megapixel. It's probably not a resolution problem as opposed to other things. So, yeah, there might be a small, you're right, it might be a minor hybrid, perhaps. But even if it is, it's vastly cheaper than contemplating swapping out computers, which are actually properly expensive, not just in terms of the hardware, but to swap them out because you've got to dismantle parts of the dash, and that takes a lot of time, and it just takes time. But
even if it costs $50, and even if it's just that's the only hardware that they need to do,
it's nothing.
But still, I mean, it wouldn't be 3.5 million because so 2019, I don't know, it'd probably be, well, even if it's $1 million, I mean that's 50 million bucks.
The number, but that's a rounding error. So the number I was told, I heard, was 3.5 million Hardware 3 cars in the States. This was a Brighter Than Herbert. It was one of the tech guys, and they calculated it out and whatever. And like I said, it's all American centric. It's all America is the entire. It's the only bit of continent that sits above the surface of the water. But it's 3.5 million cars of potential addressable market for FSD, and in these modern times, they're more talking about FSD subscriptions rather than an outright purchase. So I guess you could say there's, what's that, 3.5
times $50 is 175 million.
But you get that back after 1
month.
month.
But you get so 3.5 to the power of 6 times 100 is $350 million of FSD subscription per month.
Yep.
Potential market. So half of that as a one-off so for a 14-day subscription, Tesla can then unleash $350 million potential revenue, which is effectively all profit because it's a software margin. It has no on cost. Potential market. This is not the whole market because not everyone will do it. But basically, what's at stake is a very large unlock of value So make no mistake, Tesla will do everything within the laws of physics or computer engineering to make it happen.
I
And
think
like I
so
said, there
too,
are
Harold.
parallels whereby this has been done with large language models, which are a version of synthetic intelligence. So there is a parallel to being able to do that. And Ashok Aswami, who is the head of Tesla's FSD,
AI.
Tesla AI. Sorry, no, not Tesla AI, but of the FSD part of Tesla, has basically said that's what they're going to be working on. And in fact, there were job ads on Tesla's website in the States for someone to do precisely that. It actually literally said involved with quantizing full self-drive or FSD architecture or neural architecture or programming.
Hey, Harold, if there, like, we already know that it works on hardware 3 because 12.6 works in the USA.
Yes.
Why can't we just have that here for the hardware 3 guys, you know?
Because we've got a different version, Damo. So even our 13.2.9 is, you know, trained on Australian roads. So it's a very different version. So they can't just, you know, port it over to Australia. So
It would have to be retrained on that old
Exactly.
architecture. And I think what Tesla's decided to do is let's just perfect hardware for FSD down under because it's totally different. It's a whole new. Imagine it's Tesla. It's like it's a totally different road network, which it is. It's on the opposite. It's not just left to right because you can't just mirror stuff. It's you just got to relearn it all from scratch. So effectively, there are two Teslas. There's, let's call it Tesla America and Tesla Australia, that are doing the same thing, but they've got to do it independently of each other. Our problem is they're using the same hardware, which is the Cortex supercomputer. So we've got to share resources, and obviously they're prioritizing America. But that I think what Tesla's decided is rather than making version 13 for hardware 4 better, and then, you know, once you've done that, go backwards for hardware 3 to make version 12 better or configure it for Australian conditions. Just wait a bit longer, perfect version 14. Sorry, I think what's going to happen next is the next software version we're going to get is version 14. Make that right, and then simply quantize it down to hardware 3, which probably means you only have to learn the version 14, let's call it the full version, once, then quantize and jam it into hardware 3 cars as one process or two processes, rather than having to learn it twice on two different platforms. And version 12 will always be crappy on a version 3 on a hardware 3 car.
Copy.
So, and it's
Tesla
frustrating.
said that they wanted to.
It is. It can't come soon enough. Like, because I've got some mates that are just stubborn, and you know they want it on hardware 3, and it's like I feel bad for some of my friends. Like, they deserve it more than me because they waited longer than me. You know what I mean? But
Hey, Damo, I paid for 4 lots of hardware 3.
I know.
FSD. So
I know.
I'm feeling 4 times the pain.
I just want everyone to experience it as well, you know. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, to your point, it's not just experience it, but the safety aspect. I saw on X tonight there was a doctor, a medical doctor, and this is what he said about self-driving cars. He said, it's time we stop treating self-driving cars like a tech moonshot and start treating it like a public health intervention that will save lives. In medicine, when a treatment shows this level of benefit, we stop the trial early. Continuing to give patients the placebo becomes unethical. When an intervention works this clearly, you change what you do. Now, he was referring to Waymos, but because they've released some stats. So interestingly, so the Waymo stats are that Waymo self-driving cars were involved in 91% less serious injury or worse crashes and 80% fewer crashes causing any injury. Now, Tesla statistics are 85% less crashes, period. So obviously that Tesla statistic is far superior to the Waymo one, but then you've got to realise that the Waymo is based on autonomous cars, whereas the Tesla stat is based on a human supervising a car and ready to intervene. So, you know, they're not directly comparable, but, you know, maybe they are roughly comparable. But anyway, we don't have Waymos in Australia, so it's a moot point. All we have is Tesla's FSD supervised. And I just love the way he put it. You know, he said, look, you know.
Yeah, it's great.
Stop looking at this like a technology moonshot. Look at it as a life-saving intervention. And, you know, in medicine, you would just stop the trial because it'd be unethical to give people the placebos, you know, if you had this level of efficacy, you know. Harold,
Sorry.
you've got your...
I just realised that. So, yeah, you're dead right. So in a clinical trial, and they talk about sigma, which is standard deviations from the mean, if there's a highly statistically significant result, and it's obvious, and sometimes results take time because, you know, they've just done another study, and it's for everyone's benefit about blood pressure. And in the old days, they thought, well, as long as your blood pressure was less than 180, you're okay. But, you know, we've learned since that it's not the case. And the latest recommendations is you should be below 120 millimeters of whatever. They did a study to work out the death rate of people that had a higher pressure than 120 as opposed to the study group or the active group, which is below that. The study was due to go for 6 years because sometimes for death, you need time for people to die and get diseases and all that sort of stuff. It takes time to get an effect. Within 3.3 years, they went, it's obvious, we've got to stop the study and tell everyone that you should be intervening because it's unethical to continue the experiment when you know the result and it's significant. Certainly. And that's the same thing as the regulators. So there were concerns that that Europe is a big blocker, and they kind of are they are the epitome of strangling a continent with regulation and red tape. However, you can see now that it's all unraveling, and there's nothing more compelling than statistically significant data. And the great thing about Tesla is one of the unique things in the self-driving sphere is that Tesla has masses of data because there are literally millions of cars on the road. And one thing that they do say is the injury and the accident statistics can be quite skewed because they rely on, in many cases, self-reporting. How many times would people have a small bingle or something on the road that no one got injured, there wasn't much damage? The vast majority of those incidences are not reported to anybody whatsoever. Whereas in a Tesla, everything is reported because the car reports it itself. So Tesla has stupendously accurate statistics, and they can back it up.
And I think it's mandated by law as well. So Waymo, for example, has to report every accident. And I'm pretty sure in the US, even FSD supervised, they've got a report.
Yes.
Whereas, he actually made that exact same argument as you've just made. And I was quite surprised. He said that there's quite a lot of crashes, even ones involving injury, even ones involving serious injury, which go unreported because, you know, they both may have been uninsured or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of accidents that go uninsured. So the real statistics would actually be, already Tesla says that FSD supervised with a driver is 7 times safer than a human driver alone, an average human driver alone. So, that ratio is probably a lot higher when you take into account all the unreported crashes.
Yeah, so regardless of what people may think governments are generally like they've got a lot of inertia and all that sort of thing, meaningful statistics can be very powerful. The other thing too is that is undeniable is insurance companies are fairly quick to catch on to some of these things, which is why for those who are climate change skeptics or deniers, one thing that's undeniable is the reinsurance rates, and insurance companies will tell you that climate change and the effects of it is a real thing because they can look at all the statistics of all the claims ever made for all events, and they can tell you that it's not just and they can adjust for population density and all that sort of stuff. They are like the canaries in the mine that will tell you, no, this thing is real, because they can pick out on a very large sample size, very small, subtle effects. But FSD is not at all subtle. Once it's better than humans, which it already is in many respects, in many respects, it becomes very obvious very quickly, and it will be game changing. But like you said, Pete, or sorry, maybe it was Damo, you can still love to drive your car, and every now and then we might want to go on for a fang or a whatever. But for all the mundanity of peak hour start-stop traffic, you just stick the car on and just let it do its thing, And bearing in mind, as we see that
driving.
Yep.
Sorry, go Harold.
I was just going to say, and the thing is, we all need to remember, those of us who are using FSD supervised, right now the software has not changed since the first release. This is the first beta release, and it's the very worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better, and it's going to get much better. We've had no dot releases, no dot improvements, as opposed to the States. We're still stuck on the very original version, public version. So it'll only get vastly better in the future.
So I've got a renter who did 10,000 miles on FSD version 13 something in the US, higher than 13.2.9, but it was a version 13. And then he did 5,000 kilometers on my car here with 13.2.9. And yeah, he said that the US version is much
better,
much more reliable.
Yeah,
like some of the mistakes that our version does, the US version just does not do.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, it's past our 2 hours, which is not really a hard limit, but it's a good soft limit to have, so we don't do the Ben-Hur episodes like we used to in the good old days when we were younger and more vigorous. But
and the Tesla price is $423.24.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes, it has sagged off a little bit, but look, it's in a bit of a classic trading range at the moment between, let's call it 400 and, well, I guess 450, sort of in the upper bound. Yep. But look, a lot of things are happening next year. After hours, it's, yeah. Go
435.
435 after hours, up 1.44%.
Yeah.
And this is not financial advice, but there are a lot of structural changes that a lot of analysts are, what do you call it? They're heralding these changes coming into fruition, and their price targets, which are very short term, they're 12-month price targets, because that's what analysts do, are contemplating it. But there's a lot of things happening. So you've got, there will be a time when the robo-taxis, and yes, there are very few of them in operation at the moment. So Austin still has 29 that are known, that are actively circulating, which is nothing. And San Francisco has maybe 100 or something like that. There will be a time in the coming months whereby the supervisor in Austin will be removed, and eventually in California the observing driver in the driver's position will also be removed, and that will be a step change, because then FSD becomes very real, because it's not just, well, yeah, but there's someone holding its hand the whole time potentially. So that will be an event. Then that'll be a catalyst for what's coming in the future. Like, it basically locks it in as rather than some ethereal theory, it's like, wow, it's actually happening. You've also then got the Optimus robot going into production. That's a bit longer term, but it'll have a lot of meaning for Tesla, because they'll utilize Optimus robots or legions of Optimi, which Elon Musk said that the plural of Optimus is Optimi, in their factories. Tesla will be its own biggest customer for Optimus robots to make their lines even more efficient. And then you've got robo-taxis, the Cybercab, which is that futuristic looking 2-passenger vehicle with no controls. So there's no drive, no steering wheel, whatever. That will go into production next year. And many retail analysts have said, or a few of them have said, once you cross approximately 40,000 of robo-taxis, not cybercabs, robo-taxis that are without people, without supervisors, once there are about 40,000 robo-taxis active in the fleet, actively taking rides, that's then the next stage when analysts start saying that this is a meaningful amount of earnings that Tesla is making. And of course, from there, you sort of see nothing but blue sky, because it's kind of real, it's working, it's earning income, and then it's just a matter of scaling it. And every time you double that fleet of 40,000, you're adding an extra, $100 or $200 or whatever it is of share value every time you do that. So the catalysts next year are quite significant. And we've literally, as a retail investor, if you're a long-term investor and not a trader, you've just got to sit back and just enjoy the view of it happening. And it'll be lumpy. And it doesn't matter if one of these things gets delayed by 6 months, because no one remembers how the Model 3, well, I'm sure most people want to forget how the Model 3 ramp went. That was a disaster and almost sunk the company. The Model Y ramp actually went quite smoothly. And I mean, Shanghai went remarkably well. And the share price basically, I think since then it kind of 10x'd, I think, off the top of my head. I don't want to, I think roughly 10x'd. But no one remembers, was that, late 2019? Was it 2020? Was it, it 1 or 2 years either side, or 1 or 2 quarters is just a rounding error. No one cares in hindsight. While you're on the coalface at the time, yeah, it matters. But when you're looking backwards and you go, by 2030 and we're looking backwards, that's 5 years' time, not financial advice, but when Tesla's share price is beyond $10 trillion, we won't remember when did it go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or 5 to 6. It'll be like, wow, that was pretty cool. How awesome was it that roughly somewhere back in 2025 things sort of heated up, or 2026 perhaps. It doesn't matter. But that's a trajectory that's going to happen in just the next 5 years, Not
according to Joe Bagdy this morning. He reckons that timeline's wrong. It's going to be fast-tracked maybe a couple of years.
Well, Stephen Mark Ryan put a tweet out a few weeks ago, going, that Elon Musk is going to speed run the $8.5 trillion. And he will. He'll speed run just like he did the 2019 compensation package. That was a 10-year package, and he did it in 3. And it was a ridiculous 10x approximately of Tesla's share price, and he did it in 5 years. And don't forget, 8.5 trillion is not the target. That is the market cap target for Elon Musk to get his 10th tranche. But 3 tranches earlier, there is a associated performance metric, which is a EBITDA, earnings before interest, depreciation, taxation, and amortization, of $400 billion per annum. Now, there's no company on earth that has an EBITDA of 400 billion. Guaranteed.
Amazing.
If on a PE ratio of say 50, which on a growing tech company is conservative, a 50 PE on 400 billion is $20 trillion.
20 trillion.
So make no mistake, don't think that the 8.5, on the presumption that Elon Musk achieves all his tranches, is the target. That's a target, but the consequence of meeting that target, even before that target, is a share price actually being 20. So it's quite possible that by the year 2030, the 8.5 will look like, well, that was just a step along the road. Not financial advice, but that's just a consequence of Tesla performing in the way it's anticipated to and the way that it's intended to. So anyway, on that,
In terms of the timing, Elon Musk said that he expects FSD revenue to hit the P&L in a meaningful way by the end of 2026. So, but like you said, that could be, plus or minus a quarter or 2 or 3.
Yep.
The future is not certain. So,
and look, a lot of people, they did it with mining companies. They do it with startup miners like FMG that, oh, well, we're not sure what's going to happen. We've got to wait till the train set's finished. In other words, the rail. And until they're actually shipping iron ore to customers, it's really not real. The thing is, all this infrastructure is being built. You know what's going to happen next. It's literally A plus B plus C plus D equals F. It just keeps, as long as there's no disaster in between. It's not rocket science in that sense. So the great thing as a retail investor is, and again, not financial advice, one advantage we have is we can see the bigger picture and we can put some effort into understanding the consequences of the bigger picture. Whereas as an analyst, you've got to keep defending your position. You keep having to sort of say, well, what have they done in the past? Let's project forward from last year incrementally without being too outlandish. And we can't kind of presume that interesting things will happen in the future because how would we know? And they're always hamstrung by that kind of incremental, backwards looking sort of approach. Whereas we can look at the bigger picture, and it's that's one advantage that retail investors have. Plus, we can have time.
It's the biggest advantage that retail investors have is that we don't have to report to anyone every quarter.
Yep, and we don't have to make a trade to earn money and put some profit in the bank. We can just hold the entire share and just hold it.
And we don't have to rebalance portfolios. We can have Tesla take up 100% or 1% of a portfolio. There's no limits.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you've got all these catalysts all happening in like April, May next year. And the Tesla Semi is going to be then as well. And the Roadster is all, it's all going to be like April's just going to, it's like bang, bang, bang. They can't ignore it. Oh yeah, battery storage, of course. Yeah, Houston will be online by then as well. So you're just sort of going, the analysts can't ignore it.
No, and they can't defy gravity in the end.
No.
And it's going to be a great year next year. It really is. It's going to be great.
This has been 9 years of pain, man. So I'm looking forward
roller coaster ride.
Yep.
It is. All right. So before we get too carried away, and before we get too carried away and we go into our third and fourth and fifth hour, which I guarantee, if I reckon we should do like a few marathon sessions every time Tesla passes another $1 trillion of market cap.
Yep.
So we'll promise to do that.
Don't do it to yourself, Harold.
I'll be able to afford it. I guarantee you.
Just start earlier. Start the thing at like 5 in the afternoon or something. So
Oh, Paul.
you're not so tired.
Actually, what
Some
I'll do
people are
is
busy at that time.
no. We'll have three of us fly to the three corners of the earth. No,
Yep.
two of us. We only need two to
Okay.
fly, so we can do 8-hour shifts. 3 8 to 24. That's correct. Yeah. So
No worries.
so someone will stay in
I'll do
Perth.
Perth.
Yeah, I'll do Europe, and then Pete, you can do the States, and then we can be on the three corners, and then we'll just do a swim through. Anyway, that will happen. It probably will too. On that note, Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this, as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, go Tesla, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla and have it go. Join TOCWA and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Good
Right,
night.
Harold. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, guys.